This is IA Forward, your playbook for success as an independent insurance agent. Here to help you knock it out of the ballpark are your hosts, Shane Tatum and Tonya Lead.
Welcome to IA Forward. Shane, let's talk about game tape today and how the idea of game tape helps us be better insurance agents.
I think that's fantastic. I've got cameras mounted at every sales desk, and it's a constant review of, how are you doing and what do you look like? And of course, I'm kidding.
All of your team members that listen to this just started to freak out just a little bit because is he kidding or is he not kidding?
I always joke, we have these motion sensors for the security system, and I always joke with different people, like, I got the video running. You see it up there flashing every time you move. You bring up the game tape, and it makes me wonder, we used to do a lot of role play in sales, and we used to do a lot of training elements around that. So maybe it's not such a bad idea. There's this old thing about keeping a mirror at your desk, and are you smiling today? There's been some things used for customer service, and you can smile through the phone. And so if you're smiling through the phone, if you are talking to customers, if you're in a sales environment and, watching yourself and being able to watch yourself, which I get it, everybody hates the idea, but it really does help you understand what you look like.
A few years ago, I was at an event in Atlanta, and one of the other ladies that was there on the staff actually came up to me and she said, Tonya, I always wondered why you smile all the time. And I said, yeah, pretty much. And she goes, it's because of what you look like when you don't smile, and you know that. And I'm like, yeah, that's a lot of it.
What's that called? I'm not going to say the actual term.
It's called RBF.
RBF. We want to avoid the RBF syndrome, but some of us, unfortunately, struggle with natural RBF syndrome. This is a great point, is let's just avoid that situation altogether.
And it's one of those things that you learn early on in the broadcasting industry is that people can hear if you're smiling or not. And I always thought that was really stupid until one of my mentors actually recorded me on the air. I was doing overnights. So I was on the air from midnight to 6 a.m. And then I would have to be at work for my big girl job at the radio station from 8 to 5. And then I would go home and I would sleep a little bit and be back on the air from midnight to 6. And so after a few days of this, by Thursday night, I would be really sleepy. And my mentor would record me and he would say, okay, I know it's Thursday, but this is what you sound like because you're not smiling. Get over it. So yes, most definitely people can hear over the phone if you're smiling or not.
I love this idea of game tape. I love what this might mean for us in the insurance business and how that relates.
One of the things that kind of made me bring this topic up is I've been taking golf lessons, and I have a fabulous pro that was on the tour for quite some time. And Michelle Wee and I happen to be the same height. Who knew, right? And so he will video my swing and then superimposes it over Michelle Wee's swing. And it allows me to see everything I'm doing wrong, and every once in a while something that I may be doing right. But being able to review that quote unquote game tape to me has been a big game changer.
This is why I'm really glad that there's not baseball lessons well into adulthood. I would not want my swing at home plate superimposed over Mike Trout. Is that intimidating to you in any way to have your swing superimposed over Michelle Wee or vice versa?
Of course it is. Because we know that in sports, perfection never exists, right? But you're striving for it. And I know that learning to play golf later in life, that I'm never going to get anywhere close to perfection. But it's really cool to be able to see, okay, if I make this adjustment, if I tweak this, it would get me one step further towards that. And I think that's kind of what we're talking about within our agencies, is being able to pay attention very specifically to reflect on our performance at work. What's working? What's not working? What is one thing that I can do from what went wrong today that I could add to an improvement plan?
I love the saying, shoot for the moon. If you miss, at least you'll fall amongst the stars. That idea of pursuing a game that is an imperfect game. I talk a lot about baseball and batting averages. It's a game of failure. Golf always frustrated me because as a baseball player, hitting a 90-mile-an-hour fastball that's moving towards you is an extremely difficult thing. But the golf ball is stationary. All you have to do is hit the ball down a fairway. And if I could throw the ball up and hit it with the bat, I could hit it right down the fairway 9 out of 10 times. I have no problem doing this. But as soon as I put it on a tee, stationary, or as soon as it's on the ground, again, stationary, and I take a swing, it tends to go right or left, never straight.
My analogy for baseball is that I think of it as an aspirin being shot out at the end of a rifle, and someone is expected to hit it.
That's pretty good.
So how do we review game tape of our life?
One of the things that I have done off and on, I have a series of annual moleskins in my drawer. And if you don't know what a moleskin is, it's a little notepad and it goes with me everywhere. One of the things that I have been doing is being more proactive with my journaling. And it's taking the moment and it's documenting it. You know, I joked about putting video cameras at every desk or every workstation. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about. I mean, we have video opportunities with Teams and Zoom and different products today where we could role play there, we could do different things there as a business. But for me, it's remembering to write down who, what, when, and where, what was the situation. And what's been really interesting is as I look back over the last week, I did it this morning, and it's so incredible to just see and learn from my notes and my journaling over the last week. What happened this past week? How did things go? And you can just really start to put that together and go, okay, I can learn from that.
My grandfather in Pennsylvania was a huge believer in journaling, and he used the phrase being a student of your own life. And he loved to look for patterns. And when I tell you that this man journaled, he had journals that went all the way back to when he was a young boy. And he could look back and he would always know the temperature of the day before, the high temperatures, the low temperatures, what the weather was, and then all of the things that happened that day and what part he had in it. So if something went right, he would say, okay, this is what went right. This is what I think that I did to contribute to that. Or this is what went wrong. And what did I do to make things go wrong? What part did I have in that? And how can I evaluate this to try to make sure that when I look back on this next year, I can say, you know, that went wrong. This is what I learned. And I would do that completely differently this year. And being able to see almost 90 years of these journals and see him start from a young boy to a man who passed away in his late 90s was absolutely incredible.
It is amazing what we can tell ourselves if we just capture the thoughts. This doesn't mean you have to be romantic about it. You don't have to be an incredible writer. This is not required. And the thing that's popping into my brain right now is during my youngest daughter's first college fall season, one of the things they had to do was chart their at-bats. So you've heard of charting pitches, where the location was, what kind of pitch they threw. They're effectively journaling. And Emma had to journal her at-bats from the fall. And she had to go through the Dartfish video. She had to look at everything. And when she got through from her live at-bats to the fall games against the smaller JUCOs and NAI schools they played in the fall, and the scrimmages, what became the pattern is that as a left-handed hitter, she was thrown inside less than 2% of the time. In other words, her at-bats were 96 to 98% outside pitches. Why was that so important? Well, it was the pattern. The pattern here was so vivid to her, and it took her into her first spring and gave her an incredible advantage. And guess what? The pattern didn't really change. And as a hitter, if you're charting your pitches, how pitchers are pitching to you, it's going to raise your chances of success significantly. And raising your batting average over the course of 150 to 200 at-bats, it's incredible that maybe 10, 12 hits is the difference between 50 points. Well, there's a huge difference between hitting 260 on the year and hitting 310, 320 on the year. Journaling and charting pitches are kind of one and the same when it comes to comparing our businesses and our day as business owners to the athlete.
Sometimes when I talk to agents, I hear they're so frustrated and they're trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to do? I'm going to make this adjustment. I'm going to change this. I'm going to start doing this. And before you can make those adjustments, I think you really need to understand the why not of what's happening. And I think this idea of journaling, and like Shane, I keep a notebook on my desk to write those things down. Now, I will say if something goes wrong or something's not working, I do cool off. I don't do it absolutely immediately because I want to be able to reflect just a little bit and say, okay, I need to be able to see both sides of that. So I may not, if something has gone wrong or something has done right, grab that moleskin immediately, but it's probably going to be end of day so I can be hard enough on myself and really understand what I did right and what I did wrong. Another thing, I think that idea of that notebook, and I don't like the word journaling because I think for me and for a lot of people, it has this connotation of an 11-year-old girl with this little pink book that she puts by her bed that she writes about the cute boy that she's interested in. So I think the word journaling has this kind of odd connotation for people sometimes, but just being able to write down, okay, these are the opportunities that I took advantage of today and I had great success. And these are the opportunities that I missed. And here's how I think I could have done that better. Just has so much value when it comes to being a solopreneur or an entrepreneur.
Document, write it down, chart, use the word that you, whatever, right? And mine is not glamorous. It is bullet pointed. My handwriting's not great, but it's okay. And sometimes I will literally draw like an arrow down the page and I will rewrite that if I can't read it very well, right? And I will go through that. And so it's not pretty, but it's so vital. I look at my notebooks and moleskins, and some people use spiral notebooks, and I've got some of those. And I go back from time to time and I look at those, and I've got one from like 2011. And it's very interesting to see the thought process that initiated some of our programs and initiated some of our thoughts, and also that we're so wrong. And I'm so glad we didn't do them. And so it's really good to be able to see where you've come from so that you know where you're going and how to be better at where you need to go than you did a year ago. I mean, the whole idea is to constantly make yourself better. You don't want to be the same hitter next year that you are this year.
I didn't start out with a spiral notebook, but I started out with the black and white composition notebooks that have like the taped spine. That's where mine are. And I'll tell you, in working with people that are younger than me, if sometimes I'm struggling to connect or struggling to understand, I'll actually go back to those notebooks from about that same time in my life and pull them. And it'll be a reminder of me, okay, these are the things that I was struggling with at that time. These are the things that I was struggling with when I was that age, or when I was at that point in my career. And being able to go back and pull that helps us to be better mentors for the generations coming after us.
I got to get like an infinite game comment in here, this long-term strategy. But one of the reasons this is so important is if you're starting an agency, you're moving from the captive side to the independent side, you're a producer moving into agency ownership, you're going to be so much better in year 10 than you are in year 2. And if you can speed up that cycle and be better at year 4 than you were in year 2, instead of waiting until year 10 to get to that point, well, then everything just works faster and you get stronger and things are more successful. And being able to speed that up comes from knowing what you did wrong and being a little bit of a critic of yourself.
I would think that another thing that journaling and charting has done for you is you're able to look back. And I knew everything in my mid-20s, late 20s, early 30s. I knew everything. And now I know nothing. And so now that I'm in this place where I realize how very little that I know, even though I hope that I'm smarter and I've learned a whole bunch, I think that journaling really helps us understand what we don't know, and we need to learn from that.
I might or might not be highly opinionated.
I think maybe you need to journal on that.
I think I do. And I think that in my 20s, that opinionated self that I was and continue to be did not have a very good filter. And today it has, through this charting and recognition and owning just some things, what I've learned is I've learned how to control the filter a little better. Believe it or not, it doesn't always come out in this podcast, but there is this reality that just like you, I knew everything at 25. There was no reason really for me to learn anything new. Why would I need to learn anything new? I knew everything. And man, to realize at 50 that I know very little, and to be humbled by what I don't know and understand, and then owning that. And then really it creates this desire to learn, creates this desire to hear other people, to hear other people's opinions, to hear other people's perspectives, to, as one of our core values says, make it personal and put myself in their seat. It just opens up so much. And there's no way that I make it to that point where I think I'm at today if I haven't charted that, if I haven't documented it. And it's actually what made us successful in the first place today, was being able to look back on some of those early thoughts and ideas and go, wow, we kind of had it right. We just needed some things to happen. We needed to be patient. We needed to let time go forward and technology to be developed.
I think another way this tool can be used is figuring out who should be in your circle. You've probably heard the phrase, you become like the 5 people that you're around the most. And my husband, who is this brilliant technical person, bless his heart, I actually was walking by his office a few days ago and I heard him say, well, if you put it in the Google, and I use the in a very tongue-in-cheek, and I'll say I'm going to the Target, put it in the Facebook, put it in the Google, and it came out of his mouth, and I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if he realizes that he just did this. But I digress to my original point of we become like the 5 people that we're around the most. And if I am in the smart part of those 5 people, like if I am in the upper echelon tier of that, I'm ready to find another room. Because at this point in my life, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I want the people around me. I want the opportunity to learn from them. I want those relationships to be extremely symbiotic. And as a business owner or as an executive or as a salesperson, if you're not learning from the people around you, you're missing so many opportunities.
There's a really great athlete story here that goes with that as well. One of the things in development of an athlete at a young age and growing up is there's this thought that you never want to be the best player on the team. That if you are the best player on the team, maybe it's time to challenge yourself and move up in terms of maybe another level of play. You want to challenge yourself and be better and continuously to understand that. And then looking around, if you look around and you are the smartest, you are the best, well, maybe it's time to challenge yourself a little better. And the ultimate thing that people probably don't recognize is what I would say, the Michael Jordan comparison. And Michael Jordan became the best player on the team, the best player in the league, to such a degree that I feel like he became bored in the NBA and decided, I think I'll go try another professional sport. And that's why he went to play baseball. That's just an opinion of mine, that when we think about that, the ultimate comparison of someone who went through that as an athlete developing to his greatest ability would be Michael Jordan. If you become so great at your craft that you become bored with the elite of the elite, that you change sports altogether and still have success to some degree, that's an incredible statement. It kind of went down the wrong path. Media, critics made fun, sort of poked fun at Michael Jordan as a baseball player without really understanding the perspective of what he was actually doing.
Tim Tebow did the same thing.
Yeah.
And the media had a field day with it.
Media had a field day with it. It's another great example. But I just think that it is something to definitely think about and continuously challenging yourself. And I think that looking back and remembering where you came from can help you with that. And you can't look back if you haven't documented it.
So the idea of watching The Last Dance, my husband and I watched it when it came out, about 2 years ago. And then one night when I was out of town, I was actually there in Huntington at our home office. The cute boy was like, I want to watch this again. And he watched the whole thing while I was gone. And we've kind of started watching it about every 4 or 5 months. And it has been amazing to me, things that I didn't catch the first time or the second time or the third time that push me to want to be better. I mean, it really does. I mean, every time I watch this thing, I get fired up and I make changes and tweaks and, okay, what if I did this or what if I did that? And some things work and some things don't. But seriously, it is so much better for you mentally than sitting down to watch Friends. If you're going to watch something, watch it more than once. Watch it every 6 months or so. And I think as insurapreneurs that it gives us a place that if we're in a rut, it's going to inspire something new.
I am taking that snippet and I'm going to replay it for my lovely wife. This is why I watch Indiana Jones at least once or twice a week, is because you have to watch it over and over again, because when I grow up, I am going to be Dr. Indiana Jones. As a childhood dream, baseball player, but there was also if I don't make it in professional sports, I'm going to be Indiana Jones. I didn't exactly know what Indiana Jones until I became an adult. I just thought he fought people in the streets of Delhi. This is perfectly understandable to why I have to watch it over and over and over again. In all seriousness, I agree 100% with what you can learn especially with a docuseries like that, where it's on someone that has reached the pinnacle of success in their particular industry or sport.
I was watching a video with LeBron James, who is kind of like Tom Brady. I think he's a very polarizing figure, but we have to admit that he's been extremely successul. And LeBron is one of those people that loves game tape. And after every single game, he goes home and he watches film, and he watches film until 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, trying to figure out every single bit of minutia, every detail that he's doing right and what he can do better. And I think that's been one of the keys to his success. Now, most of us do not have the budget, nor do we have the patience to hire a film crew to follow us around all day. And probably if we did that, we would be on our best behavior all the time. But the idea of making time, and if LeBron James as an elite level athlete can make time to do this, I think this is something that we can do for 5 minutes at the end of our workday or 5 minutes at the end of our day in the evening to better ourselves. And I think we can take this beyond our agencies. I think the idea of finding and reinforcing our strengths and looking for our weaknesses in the office and at home is crucial if we want to see long-term success holistically.
Speaking of movies, if you haven't seen the movie Air.
Oh, it is so good. Oh my gosh, it is so good.
The Ben Affleck, Matt Damon movie based on Nike's pursuit of relevance in basketball sneakers, and then this one talent scout's pursuit of the Michael Jordan. And there is a pivotal moment in the film where he is watching tape of Michael Jordan taking the shot when he was at North Carolina during a national title game as a freshman, as an 18-year-old freshman. And there's this moment where he has this sort of aha moment watching tape at probably 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that, alone in a film room. And he keeps rewinding this one moment. And what he realizes is that Michael Jordan is relaxed. He's not stressed. He's not nervous. He's 18 years old in the biggest game of his life on a huge stage. And his coach, North Carolina legend, Dean Smith, puts all of his trust in this 18-year-old freshman, All-American, future number one pick, James Worthy, puts all of his trust as a senior, junior, senior, by passing Michael Jordan the ball. And Michael Jordan takes this relaxed, as he always does, easy jump shot that drains, nothing but net. And it's this moment where he realizes the answer to Nike's basketball opportunity is to put all of their eggs in the Michael Jordan basket. And that's how Air Jordan came along. That's how the Jumpman logo came along. That's how the Jordan brand, as a sub brand in and of itself, which was so crazy, came to become its beginning, and it revolutionized everything because the deal allowed Michael Jordan to share in revenue, which had never been done before. This incredible moment, this incredible company's change, direction, multi-billion-dollar future hinged on game tape.
I'm going to leave us today with this quote from John Wooden. Don't measure yourself by what you have accomplished, but by what you should have accomplished with your ability.
Attitude's a choice. Make a great one.
Bye, y'all.
Ready to get the ball rolling with your independent agency? Learn more at IntegraAgent.com. That's IntegraAgent.com. Thank you for joining us on IA Forward. Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now, or learn more at IAForward.com.